Welcome back, watchers, listeners, to another episode of What We Watch podcast. I am your co-host, Garett Christopherson, joined by my fellow co-host,
Natalie Brinkerhoff.
And today we are discussing one of my favorite movies, what's become a classic, I think, in the last 10-ish years, and that is The Prince of Egypt. Before we get into it, we know we have a couple new listeners, and if this is your first
Welcome.
episode, welcome. We want to go over a little bit, basically our formula, like kind of what we go through, and then the ratings we give. So normally how an episode goes is we'll have a fun question at the beginning, have a discussion on just some sort of question that relates to the movie. Then we'll get into specific categories, which are plot, character, music, aesthetic, favorite and least favorite scenes, and then just kind of overall thoughts and some other categories depending on the movie. And then would you like to explain our rating system, Natalie?
Yes, I would. Our rating system is based off of popcorn buckets. So for each category that we have to rate, we give an objective score and a subjective score. So our objective score is a popcorn bucket ranking. So if we think that overall, whether we like it or not, if it is a good, well-made movie overall, then we give it a large or extra large bucket. If we think it's a poorly made movie, we'd give it a small or little bucket. And then for our subjective score, that's the butter. So if we like it a lot personally, we give it a lot of butter. And if we don't like it personally, we can put it at no butter or some butter. So that's kind of the score. To give you an example, a Disney Channel original movie, say it's Camp Rock, and I, objectively don't think it's that well of a made movie, so maybe I give it a small bucket, but I personally love it, so then I give it extra butter. So hopefully that gives you an idea of how we score the movies here.
And obviously it's not perfect.
It's
can
not
we
a
really
perfect system.
truly objectively rate something? Probably not.
Probably not, but it's just to give a good score so that you know that we are looking at it through two different lenses as a viewer. If we enjoy things, we know that not everything is made perfectly, or maybe some things are made really well that we enjoy, or maybe things are made really well that we're yeah, but I actually hated it. So we just want to give you both of our perspectives as movie watchers.
Yeah. So hopefully now you kind of can understand it a little bit better. We'll probably do an intro similar to this every couple episodes. So if you ever get somebody into this podcast, which would be really cool if you did that.
Yeah, share it with your friends, guys.
We'll just let them know, we'll re-explain kind of our system and stuff every couple episodes. But before we get into today's episode, I'm thinking of kind of randomly just thought of it. Something we haven't done since episode 2 or 3, which is because I feel like it's been a while since we've had a normalish episode. The last episode was Superman, which was a new release, and had some.
And we've been getting off schedule. It's crazy. Yeah. Just bear with us, guys.
So I want to ask Natalie, you don't have to give us 3 like we used to. You can do whatever. But what have you watched recently besides Prince of Egypt?
I'm glad you brought this up because I've been thinking too that we need to bring this back. I think this is a fun segment of what we watched. So biggest thing that has been on my watch list that I've been watching is the weekly episodes of The Summer I Turned Pretty. It's a great time for those who enjoy it. If you aren't watching and you're a girl like me, you should be. It's so fun. It's stupid love triangle, and I won't lie, this season, the 3rd season, it's been a battle to get through for us Team Conrad girlies, but this last episode from last night really got me going. I'm excited. Actually, I was bored for 90% of it, but the last 10% of the episode got me going, so I'm excited.
How many more episodes are there?
So this is the 3rd and final season, and it's 11 episodes long. Also, can we bring back 22 episode seasons? Can we talk about that for a second?
I feel like it has its like positives and negatives. Like I was
Like
just
there's a lot more
listening.
filler that way.
Yeah.
But like people used to pump out, I guess it's quality over quantity, whatever.
Hmm.
I guess that's the reasoning, but I'm like anyways,
Hmm.
22 episode season, that used to be a jam.
Yeah. I was listening to Michael Rosenbaum's podcast for those who don't know, he played Lex Luthor on Smallville, which we talk about very frequently on this show.
There's
Like
a couple
probably
things we talk about pretty frequently and that's one
yeah.
of them.
And so he has a podcast. He played Lex Luthor on Smallville, and he brings on actors. It's called Inside of You, and he just has really good interviews with them. And he brought on Tom Welling for like the 15th time. He brings them on all the time, and they have their own Smallville podcast where they rewatch the show and talk about it, and it's really funny. But he was talking to Tom Welling from like the episode the other day, and they were talking about how like 22 episode seasons of the show just don't exist anymore,
They don't.
and like why that's kind of a good and bad thing because like you're saying the quality for the most part is a lot better, at least like budgetary wise. Like it's a lot easier to
Yeah,
I
they
feel
can put
like
yeah,
make like
more
a like
effort into the
exactly
small yeah.
into the smallest details, whereas in Smallville Tom Welling talked about how every few episodes they would have to like in Smallville you'll notice if you watch the show about every 4 episodes there seems to be one that looks a little bit better or is just a little bit better written.
Yeah.
And I didn't know this, but it's be legitimately because they would like sacrifice the budget for 3 episodes to be a little bit smaller to put more money in one
And yeah.
episode, one
That
in
I
a
mean
bigger
it makes
episode.
sense.
Yeah, and so in that way, like I think it's a good thing that we have shorter seasons, but at the same time, you lose a lot of the charm of like a
Of
22 episode season.
yeah, from like the early 2000s. Well, and I'm thinking like with a show like this, it's based off of a book, so it really doesn't need to be 22 episodes long. Like it's like what they already are adding so much filler in this 11 episode season, but like a show like if it's an original show where where it's not based off of anything and they can do whatever they
Hmm.
want with it, like I miss like Gilmore Girls where it's just
Hmm.
like cuz that show doesn't need a big budget. It's just them like in a town just like random drama. So I feel like
Hmm.
those are fun, but anyways, yeah, we're on episode 4. So we have 7 episodes left and I feel like this season is just now getting started. If you know, you know. Um, but other than that, I think me and Garrett went and saw Fantastic Four, which we enjoyed. And then, yeah, what did you watch this week?
Like you said, Fantastic Four, I thought was pretty solid. That Silver Surfer and Galactus were my favorite parts of the movie. I loved the space sequence in that movie was fantastic. The music was really good, and the
Hmm.
core four were solid. I don't think it's necessarily like the best Marvel movie, but I would definitely put it up there with kind of like the upper half of them
Totally.
for like aesthetically and
I
musically
loved the
and
vibe.
exactly like it felt like they were both Thunderbolts and Fantastic Four. It felt like whereas Thunderbolts I think comes across as more sincere, Fantastic Four comes across as like they actually are trying, like we have something to lose again.
Yeah,
And so it felt like they actually put a lot of work into it. Which not saying that they don't do that for the other ones, but you can kind of just tell there's a difference.
totally.
And then besides that, I rewatched Endgame on Sunday, which I hadn't seen in about 4 years. Um, I don't know why. I was doing a Marvel rewatch, and it'd been like kind of sporadically a Marvel rewatch, and I watched Infinity War like a month ago, and so I was like, okay, I'll watch Endgame finally. I was a little worried going in, but coming out of it, I think I like this movie like more than I ever have before.
Nice.
I love that movie. Like there are
Right.
problems with it, but Endgame is fantastic. It is the fact that they pulled it off, but pulled it off that well is just incredible. Nothing else
Yeah.
is going to be like that.
No, yeah, it's
Um,
crazy.
and then lastly, I for the first time watched Twilight, but not just the first movie, the entire series all in one sitting on Monday, which
Let's
is for
go.
an upcoming video I'm making on my YouTube.
Yeah, go check him
Um,
out, guys. Go
yes, check it
support.
out if you haven't. I've posted my first video. Hopefully, this Twilight video will be up in the next like 2, 3 weeks. Hopefully, 2 weeks. We'll see. Um, but yeah, I
Love
won't
it.
really
I'm
say anything
excited
else
to
about
see.
that.
Yeah.
because you should just watch
Yeah,
the
if
video.
you want to know, go watch in a couple
Hmm.
weeks. Keep an eye out for it.
Mm.
That's exciting. That's awesome.
Yes, and
I'm excited for that one.
if you know anything about me and my tastes, you can probably put two and two together of the things we'll be talking about, and it'll be very funny, and I'm very excited about it. But
Nice.
let's keep it rolling. So, Prince of Egypt, I have kind of a fun question. I think if you, Natalie, were in charge of making a movie about a religious story from the Bible or whatever, what story would you choose? And it can't be obviously Prince of Egypt, and it can't be like Jesus in the New Testament because we already have the Chosen.
Well, I don't know. That's a good question. I think we've actually talked about this a little bit before. But that basically I think a chosen type storytelling of just the Book of Mormon as a whole would be really cool. So just like or even if it's just like Nephi and his family just to start,
Hmm.
I think would be cool. So I don't know. That's a good question. What would you do?
Similar, like the Book of Mormon is begging to be like the stories in there are begging to be made in a good way.
And not
I
that the
mean,
church hasn't done a good job, like they've kind of pushed out some newer stuff that has been good, but I think it would be cool to have like a an actual production of
uh,
something instead of just like 2 minute church video clips.
yeah, and I am very passionate about I have a very strong opinions about the new Book of Mormon videos the church has made. I don't think they're great, but I won't get into that. Um, I think, but yeah, I think there are many stories that are begging to be made. Specifically, what you talk about with Nephi. Obviously, everybody talks about the war chapters.
Yeah,
If you are listening to this and you don't know who we are, we're members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, which you probably have picked up on by now. But I imagine most of the people listening to this already know that.
already know that, yeah. But if
I would
not, go check it
also
out.
go check it out. Yeah, I think also a story about like David, like King David and David and Goliath and
Oh, yeah,
stuff would be
yeah.
really good.
That would be really cool. I think that
Um,
would be cool in this kind of format, like a Prince of
mhm.
Egypt type like cartoon. I think that would be really
Yeah.
cool.
And what's so like good but also like sad about that story is like you have his like triumphant rise, but then also his fall. Like David's whole story, I think, is very almost Shakespearean in a way. So I think it would be very, very good to see, similar to how this movie, almost like it's not really a kids movie. Like there's kind of kid jokes and it's animated, but this movie is not a kids movie at all.
Yeah, I mean, yeah,
Um, so I think it'd be very similar vibe wise.
totally. Yeah, more
Hmm.
of like a just more put together animated movie.
Yep.
Nice. Cool question, Garrett.
Thank you. I think for our category of did the critics get it right? If we have time, I'm going to do that now at the end of episodes after we've talked about
Yeah,
our opinions.
cool.
So let's just jump into it. So, Prince of Egypt. Let me pull up the explanation. So, Prince of Egypt, quick overview is an animated retelling of the book of Exodus. Egyptian prince Moses, upon discovering his roots as a Jewish slave, embarks on a quest to free his people from bondage. When his plea is denied by his brother Rameses, the new pharaoh, a series of horrific plagues strike Egypt. Directed by, there was three directors. Let me pull them up.
Three directors. This
Directed
cast
by,
is also stacked. It's
so it was
crazy.
Brenda Chapman, Steve Hickner, Simon Wells. I'm sure they're animated directors. I don't recognize their names, but like you said, the cast is Val Kilmer as Moses, Ray Fiennes as Ramesses, Michelle Pfeiffer as Zipporah, Sandra Bullock as Miriam, Jeff Goldblum as Aaron, and list goes on. Like Patrick Stewart, Steve
Steve
Martin,
Martin
Martin
and Martin
Short.
Short. Yep.
It's crazy.
Yeah, it is wild.
Music was done by Hans Zimmer,
Zimmer. Yep. My
and
man.
then the lyrics were actually done. Like the songs were done by Steven Schwartz, who is
Yeah.
Wicked guy.
Yep. Hasn't he
So
done? He's
pretty
done something.
stacked.
He's done a lot of things actually. I think.
Yeah, I think he also did Hunchback of Notre Dame, if I'm not
Yes, that's
mistaken.
what I was thinking of. That I couldn't remember.
Bro knows how to do it.
Yeah.
He is so good.
He's written some stuff, so
Mhm.
yeah.
He knows how to do very like emotional like character songs.
Mhm.
Moments in stories where like a character like shifts. Like for example, Wicked, it's Elphaba at the end of Act One, the Defying Gravity
Mhm.
with Moses here. It's All I've Ever Wanted, and obviously Hunchback of Notre Dame. There's a ton, but there's the one of the best villain songs, if not the best villain song of all time, is Hellfire from Hunchback, which is
Mhm.
so good. But yeah, stacked cast, stacked crew, and let's jump into it. So, Natalie, what did you think of the plot of Prince of Egypt?
You know, it's interesting to score this movie since it is
The
scripture. Did
Bible,
you
yeah.
have that feeling when you were I'm like, well, good.
Mhm.
I do think that it's a good thing that they chose a story like this because I think there's so much that you can do with it and like
Mhm.
show and explain. Like obviously they started at the beginning of Moses's life and then they ended just after they escaped.
Mhm.
But so yeah, I think it's like the most interesting points that you can show, and so I just gave it large bucket, could be extra large bucket for
Mhm.
plot, with extra butter because I think that the way that they showed it and like the way that they kind of added depth to the characters in that or the people in that.
Mhm.
You're seeing like Moses's relationship with Ramses and all that stuff. So I thought it was pretty good. And that they did a great job with the story.
Mhm.
What did you give it?
I think similarly, it feels a little weird
I'm like,
to give it like
uh,
an
it's a
objective
good story.
score because it's a story. Yeah, it's been around forever, but they do, and I like the title card at the beginning where they say like this isn't like exactly the story. Like we have taken creative liberties and stuff. Like
Yeah,
for example, in the
definitely
real
an
story,
artistic
yeah,
interpretation.
like in the real story, Aaron is pivotal. Like he's crucial to the whole story. Like Moses' brother Aaron, because Moses had a speech impediment and Aaron spoke for him and stuff. And in this, Aaron's like he's in it, but he's not like a main
Yeah,
character. But so it is has a lot of creative liberties. But with that being said, I would still give it probably an extra large bucket and with extra pot or with extra butter. I think the way that they chose to tell the story is. I was gonna save this till later, but I'll just talk about it now. I think the reason why this movie resonates with so many people who are both believing, like believers and non-believers, is because of how just they're not trying to like preach to you. They're not trying to tell you what to think. They're
mm-hmm.
just telling the story and then letting you draw your own conclusions, which I think the reason why so many other religious movies fail and religious TV shows or whatever fail is because they're trying to preach to you first and then tell the story second,
Yeah,
which that's just not really what you're supposed to do. Like you're not supposed to tell an audience, like for example, the movies like God's Not Dead, which are very clearly like
yeah,
trying to preach a message to you. And a lot of modern Christian and stuff movies like very clearly trying to preach and tell you something. Like you can't really do that with a movie that just doesn't really work. And so
yeah,
Prince of Egypt is not trying to preach to you. It's not trying to take a stance on any certain religion. In fact, I read the producers and writers and directors met with over 600 leaders of different religions to make sure that they got it the most like accurately as they could, like accurately quote unquote as they could. And the like religious leaders and stuff that they met with and when they had a test screening for it, they were very happy to see that a lot of what they told the writers and directors was actually like taken into account.
yeah,
So I think that's why this movie has, because you'll see on Twitter and Letterbox and all these different places like people who are like, I don't believe in God, but this movie smacks, or like this movie made me believe again, or whatever,
yeah,
because it's just inherently like just trying to tell you the story,
yeah,
and everything else comes second. And I think that really impacts people. And there's a level of spirituality to this movie, obviously, that a lot of other things don't have. Like I'll talk about God more in character, but God is like a character in this story. He's not just like there. Like he does contribute things, and his presence is very felt throughout the kind of second act or second half of the movie, and it just treats where most religious movies overdo it. It's very nuanced and subtle in its approach to everything. Like Ramesses isn't outright like he is the villain. Don't get me wrong, he is the villain, but he is. Whereas a lot of religious stuff would make the villain like overly villainous, there's still redeeming qualities of Ramses. Like he still has, like
Yeah,
you do feel for him and understand what he's doing or why he's doing what he's doing to some degree at least.
for sure.
And I could just sing this movie's story decisions, like sing the praises of this forever because truly no other religious piece of media I think has done it the way Prince of Egypt has.
Yeah,
I love The Chosen. Chosen is fantastic. Chosen is amazing, and I think it's up there with Prince of Egypt. But I
totally.
still think I might edge out Prince of Egypt. I think is a little bit better than it in my opinion, um, because of just the way they chose to do certain things and show certain things. And I don't know. I will stop myself here, but I just think this is probably the greatest directly religious movie that I have seen.
Yeah, no, I agree. I love your thoughts because I
Mhm.
think that that is something that's important is having that nuance in religious adaptations because you don't want to come off preachy. So I think that especially taking something like text like this and then putting it on into a movie, like I think they did a great job in that and props to
Mhm.
them.
Is there anything in the movie that you wish had like more time, or that you were like, oh, they could have used a scene of this here or anything like that?
Not that I can think of. I don't think
Hmm.
that it was missing anything in my opinion. What
Hmm.
about you?
I think it very much. I I'm usually a person who loves a more drawn out story. I
Yeah.
love getting to know
But
every single character.
I think that because it's an animated movie and that it
Hmm.
was more geared towards families, like you can't draw something like this
Yeah,
out.
and that's why like it's weird because I usually will like kind of dock points for a movie that does this, but the pace of this movie is like we're going, like every scene is
Yeah,
important,
it is
everything
really, really
is,
fast.
and oftentimes that comes across as like, whoa, this is going too fast, like this doesn't make sense. But here it's like you said, this is for families.
Yeah.
This is for like we're just trying to tell you the story and not overdo it. And so I
Yeah.
think it works really well here how fast it is. I will say I saw the musical version of this, which I prefer the movie sizable margin more. But the musical does give Zipporah a little bit more to do,
Yeah.
and I did like that, and like kind of builds their relationship a little bit more, her and Moses'
Yeah, it is kind
relationship.
of just there.
So I wish like we have that great one of the best songs of the movie, while they're like falling in love and stuff. But I do wish for like one scene before they get married of them talking or something like that. But that's probably like the only thing that I would say I want a little bit more of that. Like I would love
That's
more
fair.
of Aaron, but he's not necessarily for the way they chose to tell the story. He's not super important to have a full character arc.
Yeah, for sure. I love it.
Um, yes. So let's move on to character. What do you think of the characters in this movie?
Again, I just feel so weird because I'm like,
Hmm.
they're cool.
You're gonna be like, I don't like Moses actually.
I'm
Moses is
actually
yeah.
like, I'm not sure how I feel about any of them. No, I think again, they took these people and then put them into this adaptation artistic vision that they had, and I thought that they did a good job. I just scored it
Mhm.
again, kind of like large, extra large bucket with butter. Like
Mhm.
again, like you were saying before, like stuff with Aaron and stuff that could have gone more in depth or that we could have seen more of other characters. Like I think for sure you could. But again, since this is also our first animated movie that we're talking about, and so I do think that
Really, I
there's
didn't know it was our first one.
yeah, I don't think we've talked about
Wow.
any other animated
Dang.
movies, and so I think that that adds a like interesting dynamic to
Mhm.
how I have to like think of scoring because I'm like, yeah, maybe we didn't learn as much about these characters, but the purpose behind animated movies usually is so that it can be more kid friendly and family friendly.
Hmm.
And not that this one, I mean, you talked a little bit about this before, how it's not super, like, it's not like a kid movie. Like, this
Hmm.
movie's for anybody. But I think because it is geared to be an everybody movie, that the characters that they did focus on, it was really good. And
Hmm.
so, yeah,
Definitely. Like they
large,
chose.
extra large butter. I
Mhm.
mean, large, extra large bucket, extra butter.
Uh-huh. Like
Or
they
maybe just
chose
some.
very much to like intentionally focus on like Ramses and Moses,
Yeah.
and like everybody else, like everybody still gets scenes. Like I still love, for example, Aaron. Despite him not being in the movie that much, when he is in the movie at the beginning and middle, he's kind of doubting Moses and doesn't
Yeah.
like him very
He's
much.
like, bruh.
But then at the very end, when the Red Sea parts, everybody looks like super scared, and then
Yeah.
he's the first one to like step in and like smiles at Moses and is the first one to go. And they still like give care like
Little
just side
developments
characters like
and
yeah,
arcs. Yeah.
like those moments.
Well,
But
even
like you
just
said,
like at the end, like little characters with like the Red Sea parting and stuff, like the little grandma and like
the
kid
little
that
girl,
it like
yeah.
follows them because it's like, yeah, like everybody that is going through this also has a story too. And like,
Hmm.
so just like little like pieces of that you get to
Hmm.
see, I think were cute too.
And those like Egyptian soldiers who while they like throw down their weapons and like follow them. I thought that was
Yeah.
really cool that they added that in there. But yeah, I think talking about Moses and Ramses specifically, I think Moses is a fantastic protagonist in this movie. I think, oh, I'll give my score. Extra large bucket with extra butter. I think, like you said, they focus on just two, but the two they focus on are so good. I love the dynamic and the relationship between Moses and Ramses, where, especially the scene where during like the plague of darkness, when Moses goes to the palace and is trying to talk to Ramses, and they have that moment of almost reconciling and almost becoming like brothers again.
Hmm.
But then Ramses' son is there, and Ramses remembers like, oh, I'm not going to be the weak link in my family. I'm going to
Yeah.
stick to my word, and I'm not going to dishonor my father and all of this stuff. I also love it's a really cool detail of during that scene they're standing in front of the mural of the babies getting thrown
Hmm.
into the sea, and Ramses' son is at the very bottom of
Very
the
bottom,
mural
yeah.
with the crocodiles and the babies, and it's just really cool foreshadowing. Um, but Ramses, in my opinion, is probably one of the best animated villains. The stuff that he's given, I think Ray Fiennes' performance, his voice acting is phenomenal.
Hmm.
I think his the way that Ramses is both so like evil but also so like compelling. Just like all his whole motivation is he doesn't want to be the weak link in his family. Like he views that as like failure, and he doesn't want to fail his family and fail his father and how
Hmm.
important that is. And it's just very relatable, very compelling. And until I think the wolf in Puss in Boots, the newest Puss in Boots, I think is probably my favorite DreamWorks villain, which it's crazy that I never thought that would even happen. He is because
I've never
we might do
seen
that
that.
later. That movie is fantastic, and the wolf specifically is one of my just favorite villains. Period.
That's
But
so
besides
funny.
that, I think Ramses and Fairy Godmother from Shrek 2 gives him a good run for his money. But Ramses, I think, is second. And then Moses, obviously, is a very good character arc. He goes on his own hero's journey, becomes a leader, and all of
Hmm.
this. But I do want to talk a little bit about God in this movie because I think, in my opinion, this is one of the best versions of God we've ever gotten in any form of media besides like the scriptures themselves. Because they made a lot of intentional decisions and things that I think are really impactful. For example, I was reading up on some trivia on this movie, and they said that originally they had to avoid like contention, they were going to have every single actor like whisper the lines that God speaks and then kind of combine them all so everybody's voicing God rather than just one voice. But then by the time they got to Val Kilmer, they realized like we need somebody to speak because it's just too quiet. So
Yeah,
Val Kilmer, who voices Moses, also is the main voice of God, though you can still hear the whispers like below that. He's still the main voice of God, and I really, really love the choice to end up doing that because it kind of implies that like Moses is hearing this from his own because when God speaks to people in my experience it's very rarely like an actual voice and it's more just
totally.
my inner
In
voice
you. Yeah,
interpreting what God's trying to tell me. And I really love the choice to make it Moses' voice because it's like he's going through the same thing of he's talking with God, but it's he's hearing his own voice like interpret the words that God is trying to speak to him.
for sure.
And I think the burning bush scene, obviously, it's like God's main and really only scene.
Yeah,
I think perfectly shows both like the perfectly just and perfectly merciful aspect of God, where when Moses is doubting, he's like, "Who do you think created all this? Who do you like? Do you
yeah,
not think that I can do this?" It kind of chastises him a little bit, but then immediately consoles him.
yeah,
And I love the scene or the moment in that scene where God says like I'll show you my wonders and like Moses is like taken up and he's seeing like a vision of
seeing,
things.
yeah, in his eyes.
Exactly. And I love the choice to we don't see what Moses is seeing, we just see his reaction to it.
Yeah,
And it makes it a lot more I think personal to the point where we're not it's less about what God is showing Moses and more about his relationship with Moses and how it's personal and very like wondrous and all of these things. And I think in large part, the reason I love God so much in this movie is due to the music, which I think we're going to jumble up our categories here and we'll just talk about that now, unless you
yeah.
have anything to add about character.
No, I think that that's great. I mean,
Mm,
yeah, I think that's awesome.
sweet. So,
We can go into
music.
music.
I've been on for like 5 minutes, so you break it up. What did you think of the
Okay.
music?
Music, I would probably give um like an extra large bucket with extra butter, maybe just butter, only because there's one song that I don't love.
Is it the playing with the big boys?
Yeah.
Uh,
It's just not my favorite and I don't find it too necessary.
mm-mm.
I think that they could have given them shown the message in a different way, and I just like every
Uh,
time it plays I'm just like, okay. I've only seen
mm,
this movie a handful of times. Like I haven't seen it a ton. I maybe two or three times before this watch, and but every time that it plays I'm just like, eh,
mm-hmm,
which maybe that's the point, but yeah, that's why I would maybe just give it butter. But I think that's a good, like it's a decent song. Like
mm-hmm.
it's not bad. Objectively, I'm sure somebody out there loves it. But
Yeah. That one
and I
fan
think
whose favorite song
they're
from
like
this movie.
it's the big
Yeah.
boys. Yeah, no, totally. But yeah,
Uh,
I do love this music. I think that it has many you can listen to this music at any time, and I think it's super spiritual and good and shows the score is incredible.
mhm.
Like I there's no piece of music other than the big boys, and even then it's like, oh well, this is beautiful still. Like I don't know, like it's still good.
Yeah.
But yeah, what did you give it?
Nice. I think I gave it probably large bucket, extra large bucket, similar. I need to decide between the two.
I
I'd say
know
extra
all of
large
mine. I'm like
bucket.
large, extra large. I think I gave it
Uh,
extra large though.
I'll probably give it extra large. The only reason I'm debating is this is one of my favorite movies. I've seen it all the time. I listen to the music all the time. So part of me is like, I'm a little sick of, not necessarily sick, but I'm like, I've heard this stuff a lot of times at this point. But
Yeah,
I'm still going to give it an extra large bucket because there's a
but
reason
maybe
why.
yeah. I'm like you've heard it a
Yeah,
lot because of for good reason.
exactly.
Well, and even like I was watching it with Annie and Tevin came in like probably halfway through the movie, and a lot of the songs in it they're like, oh, we've heard this, but they haven't seen the movie, and so
Hmm.
I think that speaks to how good the music is too, because it's like, oh yeah, like this is part of why this movie is so good is because
Hmm.
the music is so good and like everybody's heard these songs,
Yeah,
whether like they know what it's from or not.
exactly. And I probably give it extra butter. I do think this was the first time where I've watched it where I agree with you, where Playing with the Big Boys came on and I was like, Huh.
Or like, meh,
Like this of in a musical
playing
that
with the big.
yeah, in a musical that doesn't have like a weak song, that is definitely like the weakest
Well,
of
and the thing is, if you're into musicals, like there always is one.
yeah.
Like, let's be real. Like, there's always one song that like you're just kind of like,
Hmm.
not the
But
best,
from
but
what I remember, I could be mistaken. Let me double check. But from what I remember, interestingly enough, the Broadway version of this musical doesn't have "Playing with the Big Boys."
for
I
good
think they took
reason.
that song out. Yeah.
They were like, you know what? The people didn't like it.
Let me double
But
check that.
did you have do you have like a favorite song?
Yes.
Least, I mean, well, we know what our least favorite song is, but favorite
Yeah.
song.
And double checked. Yeah, "Playing with the Big Boys" is not in the stage
That's so
adaptation, which
funny.
is funny. But I think this is tough.
There's so I know when I was trying to like pick a favorite, I was like, I don't know. So I said, I'll give you mine. I think "When You Believe" is the big hitter, right? Like that's the
Either "When You
one.
Believe" or "Deliver Us" is like the
Or
most
"Deliver
iconic.
Us."
Yeah.
Yeah, the most iconic ones. Like those are the I think out of the two of them, I think "When You Believe" is more of a like I think that that one's more like I don't know, they're both great, but I
hmm
think "When You Believe" is more hopeful rather than like yearning. You know what I
hmm
mean? Like it's more like
Yeah.
okay, so, I mean that's the point like
Yeah.
of
Like
the two
one's
songs.
like a prayer for help or cry for help,
Hmm.
and one's like the post like response to
Yeah,
that.
exactly. So I think like that's
hmm
why I like that one because I think you like that feeling a little bit more. But I
hmm
think that "Deliver Us"
What an
has
opener.
what an opener. Are you
Uh-huh.
kidding? Like you open it with that and everybody's hooked. Like it's like, oh,
hmm
okay. And then I think one of my favorite songs from it is "Through Heaven's Eyes" because um I love the message of that song. I don't
hmm
necessarily think that it's the best musically, but I think that that song is comes out like a good pivotal point for Moses, and then I think you can really apply it to anybody's life. Like
hmm
we're always so hard on ourselves, and so I think it's a good reminder to like, hey,
Look at your life through
look at
heaven's
your
eyes.
yeah,
Yeah.
look at your life a little different, like, and then maybe
hmm
you'll be okay.
Yeah. Question on that song, because I've heard people sing it in different ways. Is it Do they say lie la la lie lie lee lie lie with an L or with a Y?
Do you
Like
like my
why
face?
why we why?
I think it's an L.
Yeah, I've always thought it was an L, but I've heard people say it the other way, and I'm
I was
like,
like, I do not know where this question is going. I think it's an L. I feel like Y is kind of weird.
or not necessarily why, but like yai, like yai
Yeah, yeah,
yai
yeah.
yai. Yeah. Like I don't
Everybody
hear
enjoying our
it,
singing.
but
I think it's
people
Y.
apparently hear it. Yeah. Um, yes. So I'll give the other two big ones a shout out, and I think these two are probably my favorite. Like I love Deliver Us and Through Heaven's Eyes and When You Believe. I think those are all fantastic. But All I've Ever Wanted, I love that song. I wish it was longer. I wish that song was longer because
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
it's such the motif, like the music, like background music is so good. And I love like Moses is reflecting on his past and deciding like, do I want
That
this
is
or
a
do I
good
not
one.
want this?
Yeah.
And then The Plagues, I think is so good. And visually speaking, I think The Plagues is the best song. Um, it's so just. I love how it's the relationship between Moses and Ramses is the forefront, and the plagues are the background.
Mm.
Like the plagues is the chorus, and like the actual like main part of the song is Moses and Ramses like butting heads and like their relationship getting torn apart.
Yeah.
Um, and I think again, very intentionally a choice to make it that they're telling the story first and the gospel and preaching comes second.
Yeah.
And I just love when Ray Fiennes comes in and Ramses has his verse because it's just so like unexpected and his voice, he doesn't have the like best singing voice, but it's so like there's just something about it that's like for me it's like butter scraped on bread. There's something about his voice that I'm like I love when he comes in. He's just so
That's so
like
funny.
powerful and angry and so good. But yeah, one of those two is probably my favorite song.
Nice. That's cool that we
Um,
have different ones.
And I think you talk about the score. Now I want to talk about the score because the music, like the songs, get talked about a lot. I don't think the score gets talked about nearly enough. Obviously, because a lot of the score is just the motifs
Parts of
of
the
the
songs, yeah.
songs. But there's one specifically that I believe to be one of Hans Zimmer's best songs that is criminally underrated that we do not talk about enough at all, which is God's theme in this movie, the burning bush theme.
Oh,
Because
I'll be totally honest with you. Like, I'm not as familiar with this score as I
mhm,
am with the song. So tell
I
me about
think
that one.
the burning bush song is, or the God's theme is the song that plays during the burning bush scene, and then the more loud and triumphant version plays during the Red Sea scene when he parts it.
Okay. Yeah.
But it's there is no other song, like no other theme that God has ever had in any other movie that I think captures how I view him like the best. Because the way that they like it's hard to describe, but there's no emotion that you can really I think you could like pinpoint of like this is the way that song makes me feel. Whereas
Mm-hmm.
every other song really in existence for the most part, you can say like, "Oh, this makes me feel this way," or "This song makes me feel this way," or "This movie score makes me feel this way." God's theme is kind of a combination of a lot of different emotions. It's both like very quiet and loving, but also mysterious and a little scary, honestly. Um, like you can't pinpoint an emotion for God's theme, and I think that's so perfect
Mm.
because that's kind of how God is, right? He's not one certain thing; he's everything, and it's just so emotional and so subtle, so simple, but so like just provocative of emotion. It's very hard to describe, but everybody should go listen to it. It's the Burning Bush on the
I'm
Prince
gonna
of
go
Egypt
listen to
score.
it after.
Um, and I don't want to just draw comparisons the whole time or too much, but again, when I saw the stage adaptation of Prince of Egypt, they took out God's theme and made his theme just the Deliver Us motif,
Mm.
which I understand why they did that because obviously God's theme in the movie isn't correlated to any specific song. So
Yeah.
I understand why they did that.
For like
And
continuity, maybe.
exactly. And Deliver Us is just in my mind, Deliver Us both lyrically and instrumentally is very much a like cry for help, like we were talking about, like a
Yeah.
prayer. It's very intense, very loud.
Very intense.
And I get in the stage play, it's almost the way I interpret it is it's like, oh, it's God's like response to that prayer. It's
Yeah.
him directly responding to it. So I get that, but it's still like it's too intense for how I think God's theme really
Should
works
be.
in this
Yeah.
movie, like should be. Like it's way too kind of like abrupt and intense and almost like in a panic. And I don't imagine God
Totally.
is ever really in a panic.
Yeah.
And so they and that honestly like it does affect the whole rest of the stage play for me because it's like I'm not attached to this version of God that you guys are choosing to do.
Mm. Yeah.
And so I don't feel the presence
Doesn't
of
hit
him
as
that
hard.
much more. Yeah.
Yeah.
But anyways, I would want to talk about this for a lot longer, but I just can't really. You can't really. I can't really describe it. There's just something
You just gotta go
spiritual
listen
about
to
it.
it.
Yeah, there's just something
Okay.
spiritual about that version or that God's theme that I think is God's theme in my mind. Like I think Heavenly Father. I think the Prince of Egypt burning bush like score. Like it's just so perfect in my eyes. But
I love that. That's cool.
go listen to it, everybody. Um,
Awesome.
moving on.
Any other, yeah, I was gonna say, any other thoughts on music? Or is that it? I
I
think
think
that's
that's pretty
good.
much it. I
Yeah.
don't. Not a lot of people know that Hans Zimmer did the score, and so I always love
Hans.
shouting that out. My boy,
I wanna go see him
um,
live.
it's so good. It was fantastic. It
I
was
know, I'm jealous.
unbelievable. And I think
Anyways,
he in his new tour,
whatever.
or he's added in at one point he did, or he just recently added in like Prince of Egypt songs. So it's very cool. He didn't when I
Nice.
saw him, but anyways,
When I see him,
it's.
there'll be some.
Do we know when he's coming back to America?
No, I do follow him on Instagram. I don't follow any other composer. Because I just want to go see Hans. But
Mhm.
he did announce a show, but then in the bottom and like with dates and stuff, but at the bottom it was like Hans Zimmer will not be performing at these shows. So it's just like an orchestra. So he's not actually like conducting, which I'm like, what's the point then? Because you want to hear the stories and everything,
He's got to work on the Dune 3 score
I guess.
because they started filming that. Anyways,
Crazy.
go to aesthetic. What did you think of the aesthetic?
This overall, I think, is my most favorite part of the movie.
Hmm.
Thinking about it, so extra large bucket, extra butter. I think the animation in this is so cool. And one of my favorite parts specifically is Moses's dream sequence.
Hmm.
Because it goes into like the Egyptian like style, and I think the way that they like retold the story, like his vision of everything in the dream, was so cool. So I think that
Hmm.
that's one of my favorite parts about it. But overall, oh, and the parting of the Red Sea, I think, is the most like I don't know. I think it's the most like epic
Hmm.
like thing you could do. And I think it's cool and like that in animation they can make it so epic and big.
Yeah,
And like
like
I
that you
love
couldn't
like
do that in live action.
totally. Yeah. I mean
Yeah.
like I'm sure these days with the effects they could, but
Hmm.
I think that the way that they make the water look is so sick with it like
Hmm.
sitting up and like um even just like the wind and stuff and then it crashing back down. I love that. I don't think that there are like whales in the Red Sea, but I
Hmm.
love when they're walking through and then it like flashes and you can see like some big fish.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, and I just think that a lot of this movie is just beautiful. Like I'm not sure, I know that we talk about aesthetic and cinematography and stuff in that like scenes that you look at and it's like beautiful. Like I could make that my screensaver or I would want to
Hmm.
print that and put it on my wall. And I think that pretty much every scene in this movie, like you could pause it and capture it and it's art.
Hmm.
And I think with animation, there's a very fine line with that because I think you can I don't think you can overdo it, but I think that sometimes animation can like look kind of boring, especially
Hmm.
with like 3D animation and stuff. Like everything starts to look the same.
Hmm.
Um, whereas, and I'm sure that I know that my brother Brady has big feelings about animation. I'm not like as into animation as a lot of people are, but I think that like 2D animation is a lost art. What is it? How was this animated?
It was a blend of
Of
2D and
3D?
3D, but it
That's what
was
I
mainly
thought.
2D. Yeah.
Yeah. Because I was like, I was trying to figure that out as I was watching it, but I think that 2D specifically is kind of a lost art.
Hmm.
And so I love going back to older animated movies and seeing that because there's just a beauty to it that
Hmm.
we don't see anymore. Like,
Yeah.
genuinely, we just don't. Like, it's so much more nostalgic and pretty. And anyways, I love the
Hmm.
aesthetic of this. Some really cool shots in this. One of my favorites was when it might be in the song, I can't remember where exactly it was at, but it's when Ramses and Moses are talking or something. I can't remember if it's in the
Hmm.
song or if it's just a conversation that they're having where he's talking again about not wanting to be the weak link and like he's got to carry on his traditions and like this is what I'm
Hmm.
supposed to do and whatever, and it's his head and it's like his side profile, and then in the background it's like
His
the other
dad.
two statues, yeah, the
Hmm.
statues of like the same thing, and it's like that shot was so cool that I was
Hmm.
just like, yeah, like it's, I mean, and they do it a lot like you were talking about with the Ramses' son at the bottom of the, like where they just use the setting to help tell the story.
Hmm.
And I like that in animation. Because you
Definitely.
can. You can make
Hmm.
like you can, and I think that's why people really like the newer animation styles coming out of like
Like the
Spider-Man,
Spider Verse,
Spider-Verse and
Ninja
like teenage,
Turtles.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Hmm.
That stuff, because if you can make it like look cool because it's
Hmm.
animation and you can literally do whatever you want, then do it.
Yeah. Exactly.
And I think that for the, sorry, I'm like rambling. I
No,
think
you're
that
good.
for this movie specifically and the style that this movie is in and the setting and everything, that they really, really utilized what they could
Hmm.
for it.
Definitely. For somebody who claims to not really care about animation that much,
I
you seem like
clearly
you
do.
care a lot about it.
Me, well, I think that to be honest, Brady has made me care about it a lot more just because
Mm,
of hearing like his stuff. I think I care about it, but I don't know about it. Like I'm not super
hmm.
knowledgeable about it, but I do care about it because I do think it makes a difference.
Yeah, I think I would agree pretty much with every single point you made. Aesthetic, I give extra large bucket, extra butter. It's one of my favorite animated movies because it just looks, like you said, every frame you could make a screensaver essentially. And there's so many visual storytelling moments, like when you see the statue, like you were saying, and Ramses's son, and all these different moments. Um, and to kind of speak to the animation point, I think a lot of 3D animation just gets to the point of, yeah, it's still stylized to
Hmm.
degrees, but for some reason, 3D animation got to a point where it seems like we're moving away from that now, but it was more about like, we got to make this look realistic. Like, I need to see every single,
Yeah.
like, I need to see every single, like, piece of lint on Mr. Incredible shirt.
Yeah, yeah. Or like with I like thinking of like Tangled, like the
Hmm.
hair, like it was like they had this many pieces of hair
Hmm.
in her hair texture so that it looked realistic and it's like yeah, I mean it's
Hmm.
cool and it's impressive still, but it's not as yeah,
Hmm. Like,
stylized.
animation, exactly. Kind of, I feel it should be stylized a little bit more. Not to say like I love Tangled, I love
Yeah.
Incredible, I love this stuff, but um, like we were talking about with like Spider Verse and Ninja Turtles, I think what's funny is like it's 3D animation, but that uses 2D animated techniques and
Well, and
even 2D animation. Like
I think that that's where it's like why don't we combine the two? Because
exactly,
I think the reason why people use 3D animation is because it's easier. Am I
yeah,
wrong?
exactly.
Like
You are exactly right.
that's why they use it
Hmm.
and like that's why it's become more of the norm. And so I think that what they've done with it in recent movies with like with what we were saying with Spider-Verse and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, which I love that movie by the way. I did not want to
Hmm.
watch it. We did it for a family movie night and I was like I'm not watching this and then I loved it. But yeah, I think using the techniques that you can't because I think that that makes it more interesting for the animators too
Hmm.
because they go to school to use all and learn all of these techniques and then they don't get to
Hmm.
necessarily use a lot of like the cool fun artistic things that they can. So
Hmm.
anyways,
And it's very interesting because the new versions of 3D animation are almost the evolved versions of 2D animation where it's like a painting. Like every frame is so. If Prince of Egypt is a primarily 2D animated movie with 3D elements, Spider Verse, Ninja Turtles, newer stuff is like primarily 3D movies but with 2D
2D
elements,
elements, yeah.
which I mean, it speaks for itself. I don't know a single person who doesn't like the style of either of those movies. Even if you don't like the movies, everybody likes for the most part, everybody likes the vibe and the aesthetic of those movies
Yeah.
because they look so unique and look so just frankly just beautiful to look at. And it's just it's like you said, it's a lost art that I think is starting to come back.
Yeah.
That people who are like, I'm passionate about this, but I'll say this briefly. But people who say like, oh, AI is just going to take over animation. No, it's not. You can't do a Spider Verse, you can't do a Ninja Turtles, you can't do a Prince of Egypt with AI.
Mhm.
AI is never going to be able to fully recreate that to the same degree and same like level. And I could talk more about that, but I won't. I have a whole YouTube video on it. So moving on, I think to kind of speak more to the visual storytelling aspect of it, I think this will lead into favorite and least favorite scenes. Um, Strangely enough, one of my favorite scenes of this movie this time around was the Angel of Death scene. I think normal, like
Mm.
my favorite scene is either Burning Bush or Red Sea. Like those two are
Yeah.
easily
That's
favorite
what
scenes.
I put. So.
But the Angel of Death scene for this time around really kind of struck me a lot more because it's interesting because Moses is well the Pharaoh, like the original Pharaoh, Ramses and Moses' dad, when Moses figures out about how he killed all the firstborns and stuff of the Hebrews, is so like detested by that, and that's what really changes his opinion, and that's why he leaves.
Yeah.
And the Pharaoh says, like when you become a leader, like some sacrifices have to be made.
Yeah.
And God later in the movie does the same thing. And I've always not like it's never been a huge bother for me, but I've always been like, I
It's
wish they
like,
addressed that
yeah.
there's a difference between what the Pharaoh did and what God did. And I kind of realized that they did address it in more ways than one. Obviously, both are like brutal in their own ways, but one was God doing it. Like Ramses had every opportunity to let the Hebrews go, and that
Yeah.
was the one thing that was going to let him be different, and many different explanations. But something that I noticed this time, which really I thought was like really struck me honestly, was in the scene where Moses has his dream of when the Pharaoh kills all the firstborns, and even in the first half of the movie when that or first scene when that happens, they're all like they're throwing the babies down into the Nile. They're like pushing them down and stuff like that. Whereas when God like takes the breath away of all of them, he takes them up, like they go up to heaven.
Mm.
Like the angel of death comes out of the sky and takes all of them, and they always get like the breath sucks up out of them, and then they follow up into this back up into heaven. So it's God like taking his children back, not
Mm.
necessarily that he's like just killing them. It's that he's
Definitely
taking
not
their
as
souls
violent.
and
Yeah.
bringing them back up, which like I didn't really notice that until Ramses, his son, when he has his like breath taken away, when he dies, you see like every breath that's taken, like another like white ethereal, whatever you want to call it, like soul gets added to the rest of the group.
Mm.
And so when Ramses' son dies, it gets taken out of the palace and then rises back up with the rest of them and then swirls back up into heaven. And I think that just perfectly shows the difference between the two things of one Pharaoh was just afraid and the other was God needing to, bring his children back to him, both like spiritually and then physically the Hebrews needed to get out of Egypt. And so I thought that visual distinction was very, very cool.
Mm. Cool. Yeah. I hadn't even thought of that because yeah, it's not something that's ever like really
Fully
bothered me, but
addressed.
it's just
Uh-huh.
like it's just kind of one of those things that you're like, huh, you
Mm-hmm.
know, you're like, why?
Yeah.
But that's cool. I like that differentiation.
Mm-hmm.
So nice. I like it,
Yes,
G.
ma'am.
Big
You
brain.
have do you have a least favorite scene?
Other than the big boys?
Yeah.
No, not really.
Yeah, neither do I. And even like we're bagging on it, but it's like not like the big boys is a bad scene. It's just
We
like
still love Steve Martin and Martin Short, guys. Don't
yeah.
worry. But
There's a cool part of that movie which Brady has talked to me about a lot where or part of that scene specifically where Moses makes his snake like his staff turns into a cobra and then they have their cobras that like they just draw like take out of their staffs. And the like the Egypt or whatever their characters' names are, their snakes are like beefing with Moses's like staff snake,
mm-hmm.
and you see that Moses's snake like eats both of them.
No way.
So just like a cool like you see his shadow and then you see him swallow him like it's just like Moses,
Just
despite
like
them
little
being like
things.
we're like better than you and our gods exist and yours doesn't. Like you see in the background, like no, like God is much more
That's the real
powerful
one,
than your
yeah.
guys is. Yeah, so it's
Nice.
very very cool.
Little
Anyways,
details, right?
the little things.
Cool, cool. All right. Well, what else do we have then? Is that everything?
I think that's pretty much everything. When do you think? There isn't really a time or feeling I feel like to watch this movie. I think. Well, I guess Sunday after church is a good time to watch this
Yeah, I
movie.
do think that
Yeah.
it's a good Sunday movie. I think we watched it
hmm
one time like around Easter time. I thought that that was fun.
hmm
But yeah, it's a good Sunday movie when you just need a good film, a good spiritual
hmm
film for your family.
Exactly. And I guess real quick, did the critics get it right?
Yes, let's hear it. What
So
did the critics say?
on IMDb, it has 7.2 out of 10 with a 64% Metacritic score, which is again Metacritic.
Pretty
That's
decent.
positive in the green. Rotten Tomatoes has. I just had to pull up. Rotten Tomatoes has 70 something, I believe, which is 79%, which
Mm.
is low,
I was gonna say that
in my
that feels a
opinion.
little low.
I think both of those are low. And if this movie were to come out today, or if you were to ask people about it today, it would probably be on IMDb, the score would probably be at least in the eights. And on
Yeah,
Rotten Tomatoes, it'd probably be like 90 something. Because on Letterboxd, this movie has a 4.1 out of 5,
yeah,
which very rare. Not many movies have above a four-star score. Like people nowadays like love this movie.
yeah.
Like
It aged very well.
exactly, it's aged phenomenally. And one other critic I wanted to say was Roger Ebert, famous critic, one of the most notoriously like strict and like mean critics. He has a rating system of 4 stars, and he gave this movie, I believe, let me double check. He gave this movie 3.5.
Dang.
Let me pull it up. Yeah, 3.5 out of 4 stars. He really loved
Okay.
this movie. So
Period.
not that again, not that critics' opinions matters, but we think they kind of got it wrong back then. Besides a
Yeah.
few of them.
I was gonna say I'm not sure that I fully agree with the critics on that. Like,
Mm-hmm.
there's some haters out there bringing it down, but
Mm-hmm.
I think that they probably would if it was rejudged today. Maybe it would go up a little bit.
Definitely.
Clearly, we're singing its high praises, so
Yeah. I don't think I think we gave it extra large or large for
or
every
large
single
on every
category.
single yeah.
Yeah. Um, so what are your overall final thoughts on Prince of Egypt?
I don't think there's much else that I have. I think we kind of hit everything, but
Mm-hmm.
yeah, just that it's a great movie and I like it
Mm-hmm.
a lot. It's like I said, I haven't seen it a ton compared to probably you and some other people that I
Mm-hmm.
know that also love this movie. I honestly wouldn't say that it's like my top favorite movies of all time. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but I do think that every time I revisit it, it is always like a pleasant surprise at how much I do like it. Just because I think it is done so well.
Yeah.
So,
Nice. I my overall thoughts. This is one of my favorite movies. Definitely in my top 10. I would say maybe top five? Question mark. Top 10 for sure. Um, I very very rarely will see a movie or a TV show really just nail it with like spiritual stuff, with God, with scripture stories, that type of stuff. And this is one of the rare cases where not only did they nail it, but they just like knocked it out of the park
yeah.
with how they handle all of the religious aspects and themes to it all, and how it's truly can be related. Like anybody can watch this and enjoy it. Anybody can relate to this movie. Anybody can learn something from this movie. And there's just an inherent spirituality in it, and very few things have that same level for me. Like as somebody who is a storyteller, wants to go into that field, and is very religious, it's very sad that we don't have a lot of other things really like this.
Hmm.
And so that's what makes this, in my mind, just so special,
Yeah.
because it's the two things that I love the most, besides obviously I love my family probably more than movies, but two of the most important things in my some of the most important things in my life, both my faith and storytelling coming together in a phenomenal way that very few things really get. And I don't think that it's really a coincidence that, like I said, doesn't matter if you're Jewish, Catholic, Christian, agnostic, even atheist, like
People still
everybody
like
loves
it.
this movie.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to go too deep into that of why I think that, but I think there is a very specific reason for that. And it has to do with the spirituality of this movie. But, anyways, Prince of
Nice.
Egypt is a banger.
Love it.
Extra
What's your
large,
overall score?
everything.
Extra large everything.
Extra large bucket, extra butter, drowned in butter.
Drowning. There's a
Mm-hmm.
pool at the bottom of butter.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'd probably give it the same. Probably somewhere between large and extra large for me. And then lots of butter.
Mm-hmm. I know this is so out of the blue, and I've just forgot to say this. One of my favorite, I have to say it, one of my favorite moments in this movie is the very end when Ramses is spared, Like everybody else dies, but
Yeah.
Ramses is spared. And when Moses looks across, and he obviously can't see him, but they have that cut to like Ramses just
Yeah.
screaming on the rock,
Moses.
just like Moses. And it's such a good mirror to when Moses left Egypt originally. He's screaming out to Moses, but it's like out of love of like, I don't want you to go. And then this
Yeah.
one is just like the agony, like just it just breaks your heart. It's so
Yeah,
sad.
it's so sad.
But it's also, I've heard people kind of have the discussion of like, it seems like God spared Ramses obviously for a reason because a wave like picks him up and puts him on a rock.
Yeah.
Like everybody else dies. And historically, this is very tangenty, but historically, historians believe that the Ramses in, or the Pharaoh in the Exodus, like Bible story, was Ramses II, which historically speaking, Ramses II is known as one of the greatest pharaohs of Egypt. And it's partially because he got Egypt out of a time where, they lost all their slaves. And then Ramses was still able to, have
Build
Egypt
it back
still be a
up.
superpower, build it back up. And I think that kind of also correlates with why God spared him, just historically speaking, in terms of the story of this movie. It's like Ramses, like God still has some sort of mercy for Ramses and still has, like, he's still his son at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And I think that's really, really interesting and really cool. But, anyways,
No, I
sorry.
like that. No,
Yeah.
great little addition to the end.
Mhm.
Cool. Sweet.
So, what are we watching for our next movie? What is your pick?
This is kind of a complete 180.
Mhm.
We're like, let's talk about God and spiritual things and the Bible. And now we're gonna watch.
50 Shades of Grey.
No, 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 no. We're gonna watch Bad Times at the El Royale. It is a rated R film.
Mhm.
It is very
You and
good.
your
I
family have been telling me to watch this movie forever, and
For
it's finally time for
ages.
me to watch it.
My only request when you watch this film is that you watch it with somebody who has seen it. It's my
Okay.
only request. Don't watch it alone.
Okay. I will
So,
watch it with
if
somebody
you want to
who's
watch it
seen
with Annie, if you want to watch it with my family, like do whatever you want to what you want to do, but give somebody the pleasure of watching it with them
it.
so
Okay.
that they can see you watch it for the first time. Does that make sense?
Okay. Yes, yes, I totally get that.
Okay, okay. And that's it. I'm excited.
Sweet.
It also this is not my pick. This is a viewer pick.
Okay, yes.
It is someone that has been suggested probably by my family. I
Hmm.
think, or maybe it's a Jackson pick technically. He probably suggested it, but this is from our Google thing. We'll discuss if that's gonna count as my movie or if it's gonna count as like an audience movie. But
Audience pick. Hmm.
yeah, so we'll discuss about that.
Sweet.
So, yay!
Awesome. Well, thank you all for listening to this episode. Go watch Bad Times at the El Royale, form your own opinion, and come back in 2 weeks and we'll have that episode out.
Let us know what you think. But thanks for listening. Go follow us on social media. We're on TikTok, we're on Instagram, and we've been doing what you guys asked for, which is posting stories, getting more of your comments. And so if you like that, make sure that you participate or I'll stop doing it.
That's the ultimatum.
Yep. All right.
But
Well, thanks, guys.
we'll see you in the next one.